Well, welcome back from the first breakout session this morning, and I just want to welcome all of you into the next session, which is entitled Arizona Food System Success Stories. And it is really my pleasure to introduce one of my colleagues, a registered dietitian nutritionist, Maureen McCoy. And Maureen is the Food and Nutrition Entrepreneurship BS and BAS undergraduate degree director for the College of Health Solutions. Now, some of you maybe don't know what all that means, but what it means is that she's a professional registered dietitian nutritionist that helps train those who are going to be in our profession in the future according to the accreditation guidelines of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Now, that's a mouthful, but I want you to know she's very busy, and we're very, very pleased to have her here. Before I turn the mic over, though, I do want to let you know that one of the things that's on the schedule is that Valleywise would be here talking about the food pharmacy. And unfortunately, they were not able to join us today, but Maureen knows a little bit and is going to share some of that information as well. So help me welcome Maureen McCoy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glenna. It's so nice to be here. It's so nice to see, I feel like you are my people. So I'm so excited to talk about this. Since we are at ASU, go. I know, Wildcats, you guys can go too. In a good way. Since we're here, I think it's valuable to talk about the state of college food nutrition security. So I wanted to focus on that today. I will try to touch on what all of our fantastic state and community colleges are doing in this space. And we have had a lot of successes during COVID and post-COVID as we continue on. So I oversee the now Devil's Depot. Our food pantry at ASU, previously called the Pitchfork Pantry, in the process of rebranding to the Devil's Depot, which I will explain that momentarily. But I oversee it. It is a student-run club. I am the faculty advisor for it, but we're basically running a food pantry for the entire university, which exists on 4 campuses. So we have a big undertaking, right? ASU is very spread out. We're doing a lot. So hopefully this gives you some insight into kind of the state of affairs in college students in relation to nutrition security. Where's my... What do I press? Green button? Oh, the big one. Okay. That's why I'm a college professor. I know how to use things. Okay. It's been interesting working with college students. I think if you think back to when you were a college student, was there ever a vision of this somewhat normalized college diet existing on, you can see the base of that lovely pyramid of being noodles, right? Not to get on ramen, but it's right, the typical college students, you're on a ramen noodle diet, right? And that's been so normalized over the years that it's I'm in college, therefore I must starve myself because I'm just trying to get through school. I'm trying to be this amazing human by the end of it. I'm going to do all these amazing things, but I'm not going to have enough food to actually feed my brain, but that's what I've been told. That's just how it is. This is the college food pyramid diet, right? Eat ramen noodles, go to the cafeteria once in a while. Maybe if I have any money, I might get fast food delivery, might have some cereal, and up at the top, I might get a piece of broccoli, a leaf of lettuce once in a while. But that's not what typical is, nor have we made much progress beyond going forward past that typical diet. But this is not a college food diet that leads to student success. This is not a diet that leads to students staying in school. And outside of this pyramid is the students who are also skipping meals and have no food. So that is a thing as well. They might get ramen once in a while on a good day. So these are some real student quotes. We did a qualitative study asking ASU students about resources, just generally, and these were some of the stories that came out. So students can't afford the battle for higher education without making huge financial sacrifices, including avoiding meals to afford rent, books, tuition. We take maybe a typical student who goes from high school, in which they may be with their families. They're not paying for school. They're typically not paying for rent at that point. And then we throw them into a university where now all of a sudden you have to pay for food, you have to pay for books, you have to pay for rent, and you have to pay for tuition. So good luck. Go forward into success. There's such a jump from high school senior to freshman in college. And a lot of students don't have the skill set to make that jump. So it is up to us at the universities to help them through that transition. We also have a lot of non-traditional students. We have students with families. We have students that are coming back and trying to get this degree. We really have to help them bridge that gap a little bit more. I stay hungry while I'm on campus. I don't want to spend money on fast food since money is tight. I usually just bring a few snacks during my time at school, but I never feel nourished. I always feel drained by the end of a long day. I wish I had a more complete balanced diet, but since money is tight right now, I won't be able to have that. I mean, if we think about a student, and we're, as a professor, we're giving them quizzes and tests and papers and all the things, and we're like, why is this student not producing better work? It's like, well, there's so many other things on a college student diet. When I first got to this location, I've never been up here before. I accidentally walked into our athletic training facility. I got a lovely tour of the whole building. It was fantastic. And I asked the athletic trainer, I said, what are you seeing most of? He's like, what, in terms of injuries? I'm like, yeah. And the first thing he brought up was mental health. Like, that is such an overwhelming issue with our society and with our students. And a big piece of that is nutrition security. It's like we have so many other things to address before we address getting an A in a class, right? Like, we call them basic needs, but my colleague, Barnaby, who's here, he's like, why, like, basic is so basic? Why aren't we going, like, amazing needs and resources where we're barely trying to satisfy these basic needs for everyone, which is a good first step, but gosh, I hope we can get beyond basic. This one's a little bit longer. So this student previously lived with their family, but they had siblings, so they were trying to scrimp on their own food so they could help their siblings have more food. And then I typically don't have breakfast, and instead of lunch, I'll snack. I'll try to make dinners that would be more filling. I often find myself looking for events with free food so I can bring home extra to have. That is an initiative that a lot of colleges and universities have started, in which when there is a catering event on campus, we've all seen how much there's a lot of food left over after these events. There's been technology developed that produces kind of an all-call to students so they can show up at said events and get some of the leftover food from those events. So there are some positive efforts in that direction, and something that I'd like to continue at ASU as well, and we'll talk about how that might happen in the future. So some data, I got to show the numbers. This HOPE survey, the HOPE survey is out of Temple University. It's kind of the most well-known survey in the world of 2- and 4-year institutions to gather data on the state of basic needs, security, insecurity, mostly looking at food and housing access. Because again, we've also somewhat normalized couch surfing as a college student, but we want students to have stable housing. Like, that is something that we strive for. We don't want couch surfing to be normalized. So they did this survey during mostly pandemic time. The report came out in March 2021, but it was mostly surveyed from the previous year. So 200,000 students responded, 202 colleges and universities in 42 states. And ASU was one of the universities that did participate. Our other state universities have participated in the past. So students told them in this survey that nearly 3 in 5 experienced basic needs insecurity. So not having steady access to food or housing. It's a massive, massive number, 3 in 5. 39% affected by food insecurity at 2-year institutions, 29% at 4-year institutions. That's a pretty typical breakdown between 2 and 4. Usually goes down a little bit at 4-year institutions. But similar to what we're seeing in the general population in terms of these numbers. And I think college food insecurity, I feel, was a little bit of a hidden concern for several years, because it's like, well, these students, they're in college. Like, they got there, they must be paying for things somehow. There's grants, there's scholarships, like they're making it work, but we're still seeing these numbers. We're also seeing massive disparities in our variety of students across racial and ethnic groups. And with that, we're seeing massive amounts of students drop out of school, and then also still having to pay back student loans, which we know is a struggle. Colleges and universities had access to emergency aid as part of some of the COVID money that was going out there. They definitely put this to good use. ASU did as well. Students can apply for emergency aid in a variety of different amounts. So you can see that 34% applied, most of them got it. We have a very small amount of students that are receiving SNAP, when actually, with some of the waivers that happened, it did open the door for more college students to apply for SNAP, but they don't know how. They don't know how to work through the process. A lot of our state 2- and 4-year institutions are working with DES and Wildfire to help students walk through that SNAP process, because it is very challenging. But 52% did not apply for supports because they did not know how, which is, I mean, the money's out there. We just really need to help students walk through that process and remove like these barriers that exist. Like, we've made it so hard, as you guys know, to apply for a lot of funding. It's like, if we could just make this so much easier, students could apply, qualify, and get that extra money. And I hope that we can continue removing some of these barriers to SNAP, but that's going to take some policy changes. This just shows disparities across kind of regions, settings. I mean, overall, we're all pretty close, but you can see the West is up at the top in terms of those numbers. So when ASU participated in the HOPE survey, they found that 1 in 4 students was experiencing food insecurity. The NAU and U of A participated in a different survey because they had already done the HOPE survey in previous years. So ASU's was in October of 2020, and NAU and U of A did theirs in about February of 2021. So this is results from different surveys. So again, not totally cross-comparable. So 26% at ASU reporting food insecurity, 47% at NAU, and 35% at U of A. So we have some work to do. The Board of Regents was given this data, and they now have risen to a level of higher importance, establishing food and housing security work groups. So every state university now has these in progress to establish a sort of best practices across all state universities. U of A has a very highly functioning food pantry. Go Wildcats on that note. It exists, and correct me if I'm wrong, Wildcats, it exists in the MU. They see upwards of 1,500 students a week. They have a full-time person who runs the pantry. They have a garden on the roof that helps provide produce to the pantry. It is a well-oiled machine, and they are doing fantastic work. They've also had a basic needs coalition in place for years, and they're doing fantastic movement in this space. ASU, we exist as a student-run club. We don't have space on campus, so we partner with a community church that's campus adjacent. We have a basic needs security group that has just recently begun and is making strides to encourage and see what we can do in this space to get more student support and access to the resources that they need. NAU also has a great food pantry that exists through their student services, and they're doing more of like a pop-up market type model on the weekends in which students can get access to food and resources at that time. We do also have a higher ed food security coalition that was started by the Arizona Food Bank Network, run by Alexander Meyer. Thank you, Arizona Food Bank Network. Alex is now leaving, so I'm taking over with my colleague Robert Martin at Scottsdale Community. But we have representation now from every 2- and 4-year institution in Arizona. So we're getting feedback from every food pantry across the state to see what our challenges are, what our wins are, and how we can all kind of come together to move this effort forward, hopefully involved with some policy as well. So innovative solutions. We've been told at ASU that a food pantry is not innovative and we need to be more innovative. So here we go. Again, we exist at 4 campuses spread out across the state, which is challenging in itself. So we have made our partners with all of you amazing people that exist at different food banks. So our West and downtown fall within St. Mary's territory. At our downtown campus, we partnered with the YMCA to have the mobile market there once a month, so that's a start. At our Poly campus, which is in Mesa, that is our very much more of our agricultural focused campus. So we have a fantastic garden out there that is growing, literally, figuratively. But the focus at the Poly campus, which I think would be so cool, would be to make the entire space of the Poly campus be spaces where things grow and students can just walk up and pick some kale and go get an orange from a tree and just make that an entirely built environment that is feeding them as well, which would be amazing. They have the capabilities to do that. They're exploring new growing techniques and all of that. That's a long-scale project. So we have partnered with our Chandler Gilbert Community College out there. They have a coyote cupboard that's run through their student services that now feeds our ASU students as well. So collaborations at work. At our Tempe campus, that's where we've kind of focused a lot of our efforts. We have a lot of our students at this campus. So we partnered with Tempe First United Methodist Church. We have partnerships with United. We have Matthews Crossing. We have Go With The Flow to provide feminine products. We have lots of different partnerships. We also have the DoorDash Solari last mile delivery program going, which I'll talk about as well. So it's really been those partnerships that have kept us going. Sometimes the response is like, well, just send the student to the closest food bank. We're like, well, the students don't have transportation, so we need to bring the resources to the students. Like, while they are at ASU, we should be able to provide all of the resources that they need in one spot. So this is one of our pop-up markets in action. So our model didn't have to change too much. Post-COVID, we've always been kind of in a pop-up market mindset because, again, we don't have a permanent space. We don't have refrigeration. So students come, they get perishables, they get non-perishables. It all goes out the door, and we don't need to store anything. So we're seeing about 250 to 300 students in a weekend with our pop-up market. We know that the need is greater than that, but it's a start. Some of the students are showing up. There is still that stigma with asking for help. I think we see that a lot across probably many different avenues that we work in. So in trying to destigmatize, that's where some of the technology came into play. Technology gives us that opportunity to really reach students that maybe we have not been able to reach before, students that may not want to show up at a pop-up market but still really need those resources. My colleague Barnaby, who is here, I'm going to read off his full title. So Barnaby Manuel Wasson is the UTO, University Technology Office Instructional Designer and Trainer. He's getting a Master's in Public Interest Technology with Sustainability Leadership focus. Barnaby came up with this idea of how can we utilize these lovely Starship robots that are on the Tempe campus. If you've ever walked around, you might be walking next to a little robot on the ground. I encourage you to take a little walk and see these robots. So that's really allowed us to expand our reach to students that live on campus but may not want to come to a pop-up market and may not be able to for a variety of reasons. There is a Starship app. A student now can find Devil's Depot on the app. They choose the foods that they want. The little robot is deployed to our pop-up market on a Saturday morning. Barnaby and his daughter at this point pack the robot. The robot is GPS marked to go to wherever that student is on campus. They get their food, robot comes back, and we load another order. We're super excited about this. It's the first time, so Starship exists on campuses across the world, actually, and they're not Russian run like other robots on other campuses. So ours are still running, but it is the first time that they've ever tried this. It's a pilot program for Starship. They're excited to see how we're able to make it work at ASU and hopefully roll it out to other universities, which we're proud to be a part of. Aw, thank you. So there's the little robots. So you can see, hungry, I deliver to Sun Devils. This is a packed full robot on the right there. So you can see all the perishables and non-perishables in there. And then let's see if this video works. This was in our early stages of roboting. So there's Barnaby's daughter packing it full, trying to close it. Takes a few times. Wait, it's very full. We have lots of food, which is good.
Here, Brandon, we're going to hit send to customer.
Okay. It even will play a particular type of music when it opens, once it gets to a student. All right, so here it goes. On its merry way eventually. Here we go. We're moving. Oh. It will stop for people. It crosses roads. It avoids cars for the most part. And there it goes. It's off. Barnaby's chasing after it, making sure it goes where it needs to go. And there we go. So, yes, it's very cool. People are amazed by the robots, and I mean, we've started small. Our last weekend we did 17 orders, which is great for us, so it'll continue to expand. We hope to include, more students across campus from engineering and really get, that technology piece bulked up as we go. Just last weekend, we had a collision. There was a DoorDash driver coming in for an order, and it hit the robot as the robot was trying to get where it needed to go, but the robot survived, don't worry. So our two delivery models are like clashing literally in front of me. So this is really exciting, and we are so thankful that this exists, and our students are as well. So with this last mile delivery program, I know it's open to all food banks to participate in. Delivers within a 10-mile radius, so that has made us able to access students that live close to the downtown campus and students that live in Mesa close to our Poly campus. So that's been super exciting. We started small with this one as well, but we're excited to see how this delivery option can expand because, again, students don't have that transportation. That's a major limiting factor for our students. So future goals. Okay, here's my vision. Basic needs, resource hub, one-stop shop, think Valleywise, think, right, all of the different health centers that are already doing this. I think it would be fantastic to see that on a college campus where a student can go there and get everything they need. They can help apply for SNAP. We can do nutrition education because, again, we've pointed out that students do not know where their food comes from, as adults don't know either. I think Sarah, where's Sarah? Sarah was saying that in the last session. I agree. Mental health support. Okay, here's where Honor Health does our mission. Valleywise inspired me. Doing a food prescription through the health center and screening for food insecurity. So students already go to the health center on campus. Wouldn't it be cool if we also screened for food insecurity and then they wrote a prescription? Food is medicine, right? Here's your prescription. Here's your food box. Let me connect you with Devil's Depot, and we can connect you to all of these resources. That's where I want to go. Let's see if we can get there. Enhanced food waste recovery on campus. I think that's something that we definitely need to work on. We've tried to start those conversations with Starship because we do see a place where those robots can help deliver the food waste from various events to where the students are. I think that's a really neat opportunity. Increased rollout of delivery options on other campuses. Additionally, increased use of technology, like really using the technology piece, and that's where Barnaby is so helpful to bring in that piece and really help us explore how we can use technology to improve access to all resources for students. This is a long list of policy agenda items. This is from the HOPE survey, but I thought it was valuable to see kind of the things that they're working on for their model. But like I said before, decreasing any type of barriers to participate in SNAP for college students, helping students that have families with the child care piece of it, improve student mental health with investments in campus resources. I mean, ultimately, campuses still need additional funds to help some of these programs run and be able to really support students. Create and fund programs for institutions to address, again, basic needs, and make permanent federal emergency aid for students, because again, it was a temporary COVID program, but we're hoping that that can continue on. So this, as a dietitian, I had to kind of put this in. I do believe in this as well. But, I mean, imagine all those healthy things, right? Mind, body, soul, all of those things, feeding our students that they don't even have to think about these things, so that they can study and all of that information can soak into these brains, so then they can stay in school and they can go on to their unlimited potential. They can go on to change the world. But we can't get there unless we can at least get these basic needs satisfied for our students. That's it.
Well, thank you, Maureen. I think we have about 2 minutes
Yes,
if there are any questions.
Yeah, there's one right there.
Oh.
Thank you. Great presentation. I have 2 kids. They both graduated from one here, one further south.
Okay. It's okay.
The freshman 15 is a real thing, right? Yeah. So they wanted to have my kids to have the campus experience, so they required them or strongly recommended that they stay on campus.
Yep.
So we had to sneak in a microwave, sneak in a hot plate, and I think we had to sneak in a refrigerator.
Yeah.
That's 10 years ago. So then, well, let's don't eat all the ramen and everything. Let's go to the cafeteria with your cat card, your devil card, your lumberjack card. But everything there was a fast food national chain. So great pizza, great hamburgers, great chicken, but there wasn't much choices. So how do we overcome that challenge on the freshman children?
Yeah, that's a big question. We do require students that live on campus to get said meal plan. The cafeterias have improved the offerings. They do have a nice variety. During COVID, it was a little tricky, particularly for students on special diets and being able to access all the foods that were needed. So that is improving a little bit as well. In terms of what students can have in their dorms, though, yeah, that hasn't changed much. we still have a solid microwave. So we do a lot of nutrition ed on how to cook with said microwave beyond noodles and using foods from the pantry, but there is a lot of space where that could grow. I agree that, yeah. So it's a good question, and I think it's an area of something to look at because, yeah, the freshman 15 is a thing, but it's happening on both sides of food security. Like there's that cycle that happens with stress and mental health, so it's not just that students are not eating well, or you can't say that, like, well, you know, they gained all these weight, they must not be food insecure. We know that that's not how it works.
Yeah, great. So,
yes. Yep.
Can you repeat it for everybody to hear?
Yeah, so we're asking why ASU is relying on outside sources when we do have a pretty big budget to be able to potentially feed our students. When I first entered this space, I didn't realize what a politically charged space I was entering into. I'm like, well, we want to feed people. Like, that's great. What's wrong with that? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, united. Yeah, I have applied for grants before, and they are like, well, you have a massive budget at ASU. Why are you asking for grant money? It's like, well, we don't get a piece of that budget. Again, we've been told to seek out more innovative solutions to solve food insecurity. Again, I feel like we are. And I think that conversation continues. Barnaby has been at ASU for 25 plus years. Raise your hand, Barnaby. And Barnaby has been helping me navigate the political minefield to help explore how to have these conversations in a better way to move that needle a little bit more. And I do think, I mean, my perfect world would be expansion also of the National School Lunch Program to include college students because, again, like they don't figure it out after there, and there's no money to support meals. So big question, but thank you for that.
Okay, I'm going to take this one last question over here, and then we're going to need to move on to our breakout session.
Okay, really quickly, kind of follow up from what this gentleman was saying about, you know, the nutrition and the different options that are available, especially for people that are living on campus.
Yeah.
What are the ways that potentially the farmers market could apply for maroon and gold bucks to be accepted at a farmers market for nutritious food?
Fantastic idea. I love that. Yeah, we had a farmers market at ASU, but it was like the farmers market that just carries honey and crafts. So I would highly support innovative ways to make those connections. Yeah, so please come up. Any questions? I'll be here for a little bit. So thank you guys so much.
Let's give Maureen a round of applause. Thank you so much, Maureen. And it's great to hear about our students. Sometimes we don't think about them being insecure, but as you see from the data, it is. So now we have our next breakout session. We're going to be talking about our local communities. And so whatever you've signed up for, please do that. But note also that at 12 o'clock, everyone needs to come back into this room. We're going to have a chance to kind of debrief and have some closing remarks. So please go ahead and move quickly to your breakout session. Thank you.